broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Nice. We are back. The hiatus has officially ended. Woo. Yes. We are back with the Limitless after show. This is episode 14, Fundamentals of Naked Portraiture. We got some. I mean, I like how that title did not go straight. We actually did get some satisfaction in that area. We got some naked portraiture.
You got exactly what you wanted.
Exactly.
You got exactly what you expected.
Exactly what some of us wanted.
Yeah, some of us. I wish it was Piper that posed, but you know, I'm partial to her. She'd be a better muse for me.
We're not even 15 seconds in. You're already talking about
personal preference. I'm just saying, bringing it back. Don't want to forget about her.
It's true. It's true.
Anyway, I'm your host, JB Zimmerman. You guys can find me at Hey John Blake on all social media. With us, we got the full panel. Amanda's in the house.
I'm so happy the gang is back together. Find me at AmandaFTA31 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Nice. We got Frank on the other side of the table.
Hey
What's
guys,
up?
I'm Frank Maiorana. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Frank M. Let's go.
Nice. Let's go. Before we get, please remember to always use the hashtag ABTVLimitless for all your tweets and stuff like that. Definitely comment on YouTube if you're watching us there. Like us on iTunes if you're listening to us there. And you may have missed a little Roboto action if you're listening to it. So check out all of the above. Anyway, let's dive right in. We're back. Although we had an episode 13 a few weeks ago, this is sort of the official resurgence of the season, of second half of the season. But I mean, we're getting back into things. Obviously, they can't go, out with too much right away. How'd you guys feel about this episode?
I mean, I love the show. It was not my favorite episode. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I feel like in the beginning, and it was because they're coming back with the new second half of the season. A little bit was like recapped in the beginning. They were kind of, I could tell that if someone was new to the series or was just picking it up, they could kind of catch up a little bit. They kind of explained who everybody was again. So for, super fans like us, that wasn't really needed. But I just feel like it was not a lot happened. There wasn't a lot of character development. It was just kind of procedural.
Right. It didn't go as deep as other episodes we've seen in the past.
It's interesting, an interesting point that Amanda makes, but at the same time, there's a reality to this show that it's a brand new show. They weren't expecting to get a back 9 order, which they got. So now we're up to 22 episodes, and I think they had originally planned for 13. So CBS said, we love your show. There's enough people to watch, so go ahead and make 9 more. And I think these breaks between shows have created the production team's mind the need to refresh the memories of people who are coming on board new, because this show has a large audience, and it's a unique situation. It's a nice problem to have for the producers to say, oh hey, we've got 9 more episodes to shoot, but we want to bring string this out to a point where we're ending in April just like everybody else's shows at the same time. I do agree with Amanda that I thought it was a case of the week with hints of Mora sprinkled in on top of it. Yeah. But there were still the trademark elements of the show at the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, although, you can't get too deep given the fact that, they did just find out about the full season order sort of midway through, so there was no way to really plan that intensely on having a incredible storyline following through. But I mean, it is a procedural show at heart, and I think that they hit the nail on the head with a lot of elements. It was, again, it was very entertaining, and I think for anyone jumping back in, it's sort of a lighter episode. We don't need to get that intense and like stare at the screen for like not blinking for the entire time.
I do. That's exactly what I need to do.
That's you.
Oh,
You
yeah.
need to dial in, turn off the
Close
lights,
the doors. I
turn
don't
off
really
the phone.
hear anything around me. I just need to be in
Plugged in.
No,
completely,
logistically,
totally.
I understand what you guys are talking about, but creatively,
Right. Well, no, I mean,
was just lacking how much I love the show.
totally. No, and
Which
a
I'm
lot-
sure they'll come back to. I'm not saying I'm not a fan. I'm not like walking out the door.
Fair enough.
just didn't love this
You feel
episode.
very passionately, which you're entitled to.
You know?
No, I mean, I feel like
That's
legit.
for any other show, they would have a harder time in this position because it is really hard. Like, you're literally producing the rest of your season, then you find out, like, oh, God, we have to make a bunch more. Clearly, that's a scramble. What this show does so well is that it has all these comedy elements that it can use at its disposal. And they definitely did that. I mean, although this was a lighter episode story-wise, I was definitely laughing at a lot of the jokes. I mean, just starting off the bat with Spike, this whole like interview that Mike and I do. Fun fact, by the way, the actor, I mean, I know the names Mike and I kind of go back and forth, but the agent that usually plays Mike, the one that was about to leave, his real name is actually Mike. His name is Michael James Shaw.
That's cool.
The name of the actor.
Crazy.
who
Yeah,
plays him.
the actor,
Okay,
exactly.
yeah.
So he
That's the only
obviously
reason he was
gets
cast.
more of the Mike.
They were like, oh, you have the
came
same
in, your
name,
name's
done.
Mike? Oh, gee, you got it. When can you start?
He didn't even audition.
Yeah, just hire him. One take. Done. But yeah, I mean, I thought that the whole Spike thing was fun. I mean, again, it was sort of a storyline that lived and died in this episode, but it was still light and fun. Like, they had the first thing when he starts, he's like, just giving him the pill like a normal person would. And then Brian says, like, I wish you would be a little bit more proactive and, have fun with it. Like, don't be afraid to take chances. And then they had that small gag of how he delivered each day, like first with the health shots, like
That was
the
funny.
wheatgrass and whatever else, and then he like the artisan coffee cup.
Brian's face when he drank the kale juice was the funniest thing.
That was so funny.
I really think that might have
I
been real.
laughed.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that
I mean,
might have been real. I think because that's kind of my face after I drink kale juice.
Yeah, I don't know if
Like a
anyone
weed.
likes the taste. Like, no, I mean, that's why they give it to you in a shot. It's like
tastes like
not like you
grass.
sip a smoothie of wheatgrass. Like, that would be terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so bad. But you make a point about Spike, but I thought there was a point in the episode which was sort of glossed over at the end where we saw Spike on Brian's computer and essentially acting as a mole for A. Dick Johnson, who
Hey,
came
Dick,
back.
I'm glad they brought that back.
They brought him back. He's back again, still in the game. So we might have not seen the end of that character. But we didn't see any repercussions for him looking in the computer of Brian, and I thought that was a little bit strange to me. It seemed out of place for the assistant to come and do that. So I'm thinking that Spike has ulterior negative motives going on and is potentially just trying to get all Brian's secrets out there to share with others.
Right.
So maybe he'll
Because
come
why
back.
is he still hanging around?
Who, A-Dick or Spike?
If Ike has planted the cameras and finds out that Spike is, going on his computer, why wasn't he immediately fired?
He was.
Well, I mean, pretty
They fired him?
close. Once they talked about it, Mike and I discussed, and they brought it to Naz, and then she pulled the plug.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sort of surprised that there wasn't more surveillance at the FBI. I mean, you would think that at
Well-
such a high level of intelligence going back and forth that they need to sort of monitor everybody, but then you get to a point of who's monitoring the monitors, and it's just an endless cycle.
Yeah, I agree.
That's an enemy of the state.
Exactly, yeah. Good
JB,
movie.
Good one.
Will Smith. Classic. Anyway, sorry. I digress. Back to Spike. I mean, did you guys see that coming? Obviously, he was laying it on thick. I mean, beyond the coffee, he went to like back rubs, immediately dropped trowel at like the suggestion of a portrait muse, which is where we get the title, of course. How did you guys feel about Spike as a character? Like, did you guys want him to continue? Did you?
I was a little bit confused in the beginning because I didn't know why they were adding one more security person. I thought that was a little Mike and Ike are great the way they are, but why would we need one more person? And then I just kind of, I guess I didn't really see it coming because I was like, okay, I guess the other guy's leaving, so that's why this is happening. So I just thought that they were just replacing one person with the other. So I didn't think there'd be any other ulterior motive.
But then we find out that it is because Mike is in line for a promotion, but it doesn't come his way. And I thought that was interesting that he passed on the promotion to stick on Finch duty, which to me sounds like the worst job in the world.
Yeah.
Having to babysit this guy when you've gone through all this training to become an FBI agent.
Right.
All of a
Yeah, I
sudden,
know. I mean,
out of loyalty to Ike, he decides to stay. So I thought that was interesting. What were you
Well, no, I
saying?
was going to say, I don't know if it's obviously he and Ike have a good thing going. They're good buddies.
A great bond,
but
yeah.
I think it's more than that. I think he doesn't, initially maybe it started out as sort of a babysitting job, but I think that they have grown to like Brian. I mean, not that they like the actual day-to-day tasks that they're delegated, because sometimes they're not as fun. But it is. Brian's a likable guy, and the fact that he is so smart, like just being around that would be interesting every day. I mean, you get to see sort of what the highest level intellect can bring about, and I think just hanging around that, being around that, would not only rub off on you a little bit, but be enjoyable. I mean, watching people crack cases, and they did that little montage of Brian's stuff, like the poisonous frog and like the presidential file with Bigfoot revealed.
Right.
So I mean, just to be in that bubble, in the know of that stuff going down, would be kind of cool.
And also, Ike took a bullet, with Mike in his presence. So maybe, and when he said that, he's like, I took a bullet for this job.
Yeah.
And you're the one getting promoted first. Maybe that stuck with him. He's kind of like, yeah, you did. You took a bullet for us.
Right.
Yeah, it was an emotional argument that Ike was making that, it's kind of not fair that you get a job promotion over me and I took the bullet. But part of me was like, let him go if he's got a promotional offer.
Yeah.
That's not on him.
I think he's still going to go, because at the end his choice to stay, because his promotion that he really wanted wasn't available, and so I think he's just not in a rush to leave. Like maybe when his dream job does open up, or when that path kind of becomes available, he will. But I think he's just not looking for any excuse now to get out. Mm-hmm.
And it's not an average workplace. I feel like in any other job, you would feel happy for someone if they get promoted because it's all business.
Right.
But with the FBI, there's another element of people getting shot, bullets, things like that, people's lives on the line. So that's an added element that I don't think I understand.
100%. And I think the supplementary position, or the other promotion, was organized crime, which, unless you're gung-ho about, might turn some people off. That sounds very dangerous. I mean, not that any other position would be less dangerous, but that one in particular is clear, like you're taking out gangs and stuff. That is very specifically violent. And so you might want to keep things a little bit more light. I mean, they had that whole presentation plan for Nas with sketch storyboards and the popsicles sticks
the little
with
people.
She's like, keep the Finch ideas out of it. Or like keep the Finchisms, or not isms, but something
Finchisms
like
that. To a minimum effort. But I think that furthers your point, JB, that they have taken to like Brian's ways and are co-opting them to show Nas things, because it's effective.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and he's very clearly like a young soul. He has a fresh energy, and I think it really shakes it up at a place like the FBI, where I can only assume is kind of stiff.
Mm-hmm. My question is, where do they get all those arts and crafts supplies from?
Good
I mean,
question.
I know they just
the
order
government,
them.
you can
I get it.
Send
I
an
get
intern. Right?
I just imagine that if I walked into the FBI building, there would not be all those arts and crafts.
But
I'm sure
popsicle
Brian has
stick
figured
in
it out. Brian,
Fair enough. I mean, hey, doctors use popsicle sticks, so just saying.
Thanks, JP.
People
Good to
use them.
know.
It's a technical tool.
I'm sure in the background, after they
industry.
check people for strep, they're making arts and crafts
Exactly.
in their offices.
Speaking of arts and crafts, the whole storyline of this mind mapping thing into like a physical form. I mean, originally I thought it was sort of like a projection, like a Coachella Tupac scenario, but I think it's like an actual like like maybe clay or some type of robot.
No, they're actors. It's each of those people were the individual.
No,
actors.
I mean like what it's supposed to be in the show.
Not
Oh,
what they
I
actually
see.
is.
Oh, okay.
No, it is real. Have you seen the Chelsea Handler documentary?
I have not.
Okay, so Chelsea Handler, it's on Netflix. Chelsea Handler did this
Just,
documentary, and
clearly.
she does this thing where she like looks at technology,
Okay.
and she meets one of those. I mean, I don't think it's the same thing, but she
Right.
meets a robot that looks like that, and it is like a plastic thing.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
real.
I thought the actress
That's
who
nuts.
played Ello was great, and actually Jake McDorman had a tweet during the show. He said Susan Watson is the actress that played Ello. She worked with Paul McGinnis, who is a master puppeteer. He's been on
Really?
for The Wiz and a couple other Broadway shows. She worked with Paul McGinnis to master the robot mannerisms. Which
Wow.
I thought was totally believable. It makes you, when I was watching those scenes, it made you kind of guess, is that a person or a puppet or a robot? Or
Right.
You couldn't really tell, and I think that's a great credit to that.
I thought it
actress.
was a robot. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's good quality acting.
And
clearly.
so follow Jake
those New York
McDorman
actors?
on Twitter. He's always out there.
Oh, I
giving
follow
us
him on
little
Instagram.
insight.
I love it. It's mostly his cat. It is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like how they brought back this R&D department.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we actually had two with GERD. We didn't get too deep with what's going on with them, but it was just it's a fun setting to be around. Like they get to showcase a lot of cool technologies. The gecko gloves. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Brian use them.
Right.
Although he now is a proud owner of a
So
set.
maybe next week.
Maybe.
You never know.
We'll see. I can pair that with the jetpack that he already has. Or I think he only got to borrow that, maybe.
You got to borrow it, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. You can't let someone own that, especially someone like Brian. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, that would not be good.
But yeah, I mean, I wanted to see a little bit more. I mean, there's only so much they can do with the R&D department that he was in. You can't releasing new technologies every episode, but it's such a fun playground for Brian, especially.
Yeah, I like that they came back to it and they're giving us little tastes of inventions that are here and there that could potentially be brought into later episodes. The mind mapping thing can be really interesting, and I could see how it could tie in easily with NZT and people's brain performances. What if you can give that mind file NZT, and so you're enhancing the most brilliant minds in the world? Brian's there. He's in working, consulting with them. So he's already a part of that. So I could see how, this whole idea of the mind it just plays in throughout this entire show. And the R&D department is just another element of that, and an interesting one at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great setup. I wish they went a little bit deeper into the interrogation part that they set up originally. I think that would take a lot longer and be pretty complicated, but it was fascinating sort of talking to, if we are able to download our memories and thoughts and feelings, personality into a computer or something, how much would it know? Like, how do we access that?
Yeah.
And they touched on it a little bit where Brian sort of figures out a way to upgrade her software and she can do a little bit more, but I wish they explored that a little bit more in terms of being a detective and conversing with it and sort of finding the ways to have it remember the information, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I
And
see.
that's a really good point that you brought up. Like, what if we could put NZT on the files and enhance the files? Because there'd be no side effects because it's not a person. It's brilliant.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Right?
it's
You said that and my mind was
just-
blown. I was like, that's amazing.
In theory, that obviously would be the best thing to do. I mean, at that point, if you were to do something similar where, you set the program up with something and it enhances itself, I feel like that sort of falls into the danger of every, bad robot sci-fi movie that ever happened. Like Skynet, it becomes self-aware and, takes over Earth.
Yeah.
Kills everybody.
That's scary.
Well, yeah.
And one other point while we're talking about the R&D department, the Quentin Rebecca drink invitation came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
for me.
and didn't go anywhere either.
Yeah.
We
Let's
didn't even
hope
see
it
them.
goes nowhere. Okay, let's hope it goes nowhere.
Right.
But it was the
because
only
it doesn't
exciting.
make-
It was like the most exciting thing I thought happened because I was like, ooh, drama.
Well, I mean, hopefully, I tried to not read it too much into it. I think it was more just like what they saw was like so weird. They're just like, dude, I need a drink.
Well, no, they were talking about missed opportunities while that scene was going on, and how you don't know if you're attractive for someone. I can't remember the actual phraseology, but it was about missed opportunities and not knowing what you have until it's too late. And then she goes, "Do you want to get a drink?" I was like, "What?"
I know. I even wrote
There's
down
no
drink with Rebecca.
There's no attraction there. I didn't sense any chemistry, and then
At all.
So let's just hope it's just a one.
One drink.
Coworkers going out to have drinks. And that's the end of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, what a weird scene with that Gerard, who was one of the board members with Eloise and obviously fell in love with her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they took it to a creepy place so we could, easily vilify this guy. But it got me sort of thinking about, true love. If there is someone that you fall in love with, like get married to, whatever, have a good relationship, would you want to keep their memory alive with something like that? Obviously, keeping it within the bounds of being socially acceptable.
We're getting real tonight.
I know. I'm just it only occurred to me when
With the most horrified look.
calm down.
Because I know I have to answer the question.
Well, no, he took it to the extreme. That's clear.
Yeah.
But when they said like he traded the confession for just 5 minutes more with this person, I'm just saying like, do you think that is even possible to like be that like connected with someone, hopefully that you didn't end up killing, that you would want to keep alive?
No, man. When people die, you gotta move on. Death is a part of life, and I would never want. It kind of reminds me of the Harry Potter thing when he brings back people with the Sorcerer's Stone, and he rolls or one of the Deathly Hallows. You know? He rolls it over and he brings the people back, and it just, that's not what it's supposed to be about.
And it reminds me of her. We're gonna, even though it's the person that you love, there's only at that point, there's only so much information that they have with their memories, whatever. They don't move on. They don't continue with life. So there's only you're stopping. So basically, I think that if you stay in a relationship with that robot or whatever, you'd kind of be stopping yourself.
Preserving the memory basically.
Yeah,
of what happened.
But if you stay in love with that thing,
Well, yeah, I mean, again,
it's like they're not moving forward with you. You're kind of like moving back with them.
right.
Everything you're saying is Inception. In a nutshell, right? Leo DiCaprio can't move on, so he traps his wife in his memory, and he keeps her there.
Yeah.
And we see the disastrous results that it comes to. So to answer your question, absolutely not. If somebody dies,
150% no.
I think it's time for them to move on, and you remember their memory, but trying to extend it by speaking to a half robot.
Right. Well, no, I agree with you. I think for personal use, it gets into a dangerous, unhealthy area that should not be allowed. But, there are brilliant minds, like, how they had all these scientists that, it might be beneficial for society to, like, have access to. Like, if Albert Einstein was able to be preserved in some way, like his methodology, I mean, that would be awesome to go to a museum and like type in a question and see like what, based off of
his brain,
his brain would like a response be, a likely response.
I agree with that, but you asked the personal thing first.
Well, I mean, because that's what happened.
Looking at Frank like I was about
Jesus.
to.
Pump the brakes,
JB,
Amanda.
Well, you need to pump the brakes because I'm thinking you maybe have someone in mind you want to keep around after.
I'm good.
No?
I'm good.
I'm just teasing, man.
All right, next thing.
Well, no, I don't think anyone should be dependent on having a machine head in your basement. Just to be clear with everybody.
Yeah.
Moving on, Rebecca has been sort of on this coat trail, which is where we left off in the last episode. We see Sands. He kind of clears everything up with Brian, covering the tracks with the new coat. Everything's good, Brian says. And it seems like there's a trust between them. Sands goes ahead and gives him the booster shot to extend his NZT capabilities. And then at the end, we sort of get a twist. he must have. Do you guys think he was involved with the clerk that was at the evidence counter's untimely death?
Of course, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. The indication is heavily that Mr. Sands found the clerk and was able to slip some peanut oil in the
in his Chinese
food, which is really sneaky and bad. But
death by Chinese.
The
food.
one part of that scene that was surprising to me was the lack of remorse from Brian upon hearing that the clerk died. Did you guys think that there was enough from him? I thought he would be shocked and sad, and with Rebecca in the room right there, she can read him like a book, and he's not really good at hiding his emotions when something like that is going on.
Right.
But I thought this time he was sort of expertly detached.
I think he was relieved. I think he was relieved.
That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with you.
When he even got that text, he was 100% sure that she was coming to tell him that she figured it out. And he was going to have to come clean. Even when he was opening the door, he said, "I'm about to come clean." So I think when she said that the guy died, it was like over the being upset about the death of this guy that he doesn't know, he had relief.
Right. Well, I mean, I think he had figured out every possibility, with that guy alive. At some point he's going to have to cross him, and then he's going to get a finger pointed right at his face, and that's not going to go well.
I loved all the scenarios.
Yeah, exactly.
He had different
None of
scenarios.
them were good.
None of them, not one.
Yeah, it was funny because in each scenario it was all like, that's him.
Yeah.
I was waiting for
funny.
him to wear a mask or something, or carry one of those, mind memory things.
One of the robots?
Yeah, one of the robots, just put it in a jacket or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but even though we think that he's relieved that this clerk has died, she's still not giving up on this. She said to him, do you think someone killed him? Brian asked her of that, and she is not letting this go. She's figured out the jacket with the button having the incorrect scrape or gash.
Such a crazy attention to detail.
Yeah, crazy attention. Maybe a little bit too much, but it's a TV show, so we gotta make sure that it happens. But
no, I thought about that too, and when they brought it up again, I was like, yeah. But then when I realized, because it was wintertime in LA, and I got to wear my jacket once, there aren't that many details on a jacket, so I don't think it would be as unlikely for them to have big, large photos of the buttons of any defining features, because everything else is just the fabric.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree with you there. I still think that there's got to be another way for Brian to explain this to them.
Right.
I actually half expected him to reveal himself while they were in the evidence room. While Boyle and Rebecca were in the evidence room looking around for an intruder, I half expect Brian to go, "Hey, it's me, I'm here, and I'm checking out this," and I thought that he would have revealed himself in that moment, but he got away from it, and it just seems like a rather unskillful way for him to have handled the situation, because as soon as that evidence tech sees his face, there's no getting out of it for that evidence tech. So Brian kind of gave him a death sentence there,
right,
by not concealing his face or taking some other action, wearing a hat or sunglasses or something. I don't know. It seems a rather clumsy way to execute this plan. But then again, maybe he didn't expect to have Rebecca and Boyle coming in right behind him, to where he was going to need to be asked questions about this. I would have liked to have him find another way so that guy didn't have to die.
I think it was a huge mistake, because he noticed that the button was wrong, and he was like, ugh, the other guy, Sands, right? Sands
but
messed up.
I think that there was the guy that was coming back in or something. He was in a time crunch. He couldn't, fix the button right away.
I think it was just one of those sincere mistakes.
Right. I remember us talking about it, and I think we realized that if anything happened, it would be Sands' fault, at least in the eyes of Eddie Mora, if it didn't, go as planned. So it'd be sort of his butt on the line instead of Brian's.
I wonder if Sands knows that he made that mistake.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'm curious about that. He probably doesn't even
realize, because it's only something Brian and now Rebecca realize because of the attention to detail. But does Sands even realize that he made a mistake?
Very good question.
So maybe Brian needs to figure out a way to get Sands in trouble So then he's still on Eddie's good side and just Sans's.
Right. I mean, at the same time, Sans definitely
I don't know.
protects him. I mean, even in one of the scenarios, Brian was imagining that he'd be like with a silencer hiding to kill Rebecca
with the little rat
and Boyle. But no, you raise a really good point, and I think it's more interesting now that we can assume Sans took out this evidence clerk. Because if he did that, does that mean he doesn't trust Brian? Or that he knows more about what Brian's doing than he leads him to believe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I felt Sans staring at Brian longer after he said, so the matter's closed. Brian's like, yeah. And he kind of like turns away and doesn't make eye contact with him. And I think he read that moment to say, okay, there's something else going on here that I need to look into.
Right.
Brian did not do a good job of lying in that scenario.
He's not a good liar.
Yeah.
And that's why I was so surprised at that ending scene between him and Rebecca, where the realization that he may have had a hand in this evidence that tech dying didn't show up emotionally for him.
Yeah.
Right.
No, totally. I wonder what the implications of that are. If Sans is starting to doubt Brian's forthcomingness, and how truthful he's being with him, will there be sort of a rift with that relationship? Maybe he didn't even give him the whole booster. We'll see. Maybe he just
Gave him half.
or like a placebo or something.
I know. I think he believes him. I think he got an actual shot for taking care of the coat. But I do agree with you at the same time that Brian left something out, but maybe it's not something big enough to where Sans distrusts him.
Right. Okay.
It's just he
keep
took
an eye
another
on him.
look. Took
Totally,
another look
yeah.
to tie up any loose end.
Yeah, I mean, that's just good, plan B protocol, right?
That's just what Sans does.
Yeah, I mean, just sometimes
With his amazing
it's better
British
safe
accent.
than sorry. Probably just kill the guy anyway, right?
What's that scene from Casino where the Italian mob boss goes? They all go around the table and they talk about killing this one guy, and they'll go, "Yeah, there's no way he'll ever talk." And then one of the mob bosses goes, "Way I see it, why take the chance?" And I think it's the same.
Yeah,
thing
no, I mean
here.
it's very similar. Sans is probably the closest thing to a mob guy we have in the show, and I think that is the mentality. Like, you can't take a chance, especially with someone at Eddie Moore's level. Like, he's not just a mob boss. Like, he is a presidential candidate.
It's
like,
more
he
than
is the
organized
face.
crime.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It's bigger.
You could argue government officials are both
So
part
Mike,
of it.
so Mike
Organized
leaves
crime.
to do organized crime and then gets Sans, and that's how we wrap it up.
Right.
I'm just kidding. That's not what's gonna happen. There was my
I'm
prediction
curious. I'm
before
curious.
predictions.
Well, let's move into predictions.
Let's do
I like
it.
where your head's at.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Totally. So, Amanda, you were on a roll there. Please continue.
That was just my crazy. That was
your crazy prediction?
That was my out of the box prediction.
Nice. Do you have an in the box prediction?
I think that. No, I don't really have that many predictions. I didn't really get that much from this episode. But I do think that Rebecca's going to figure something out. I think it's going to get to a point where he has to tell the truth. And then we're going to really see the relationship between him and Rebecca and how strong it is.
Okay.
That's my...
Before I make my prediction, I want to call out a couple people on Twitter who use the hashtag ABTV Limitless. First of all, Fantasy Stats Guru, who once submitted that picture of you and I.
Oh, nice, yes.
With Phil. And
Awesome, by the
fighting.
way. I mean, that was
so
incredible.
cool. So cool a while back. But anyway, he's back and he said, what percentage of Brian's brain is unlocked by NZT on the Lucy scale, which was the Scarlett Johansson movie? He said, I'd say 28%.
28%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Lucy could see everything.
Yeah. I mean, she
So,
could, literally control matter.
time,
so, I mean,
physics, everything. So that was a good thought and related to this type of genre. And then also, Vern, at Vern's Views, said, I'm over shipping on my favorite shows, but the daughter should come back. So that's my boy Vern saying Nas's daughter
Nas's
should
daughter?
come back. I totally feel you, my man. So my prediction is she will be back this season.
Well, no, I'm not sure it's her. I don't think it is.
No,
but it kind
I'm
of, I
hoping.
thought about her when we saw the tease of the next week's episode, sort of in the credits.
If you do not want to hear about next week's episode's tease, please turn this off now. Okay.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, because
Some people
it
get really upset
shows
I know.
Brian in bed with a lady friend.
Yes.
I mean, Valentine's Day is coming up.
Yes.
So got to get festive.
Let's go.
And it kind of looks like how, I mean, it's been so long, I'm not sure exactly what Naz's daughter looks like anymore, but
How could you forget her?
I'm hung up on
He's on
Piper, man.
Piper.
I'm hung up on, I'm Team Piper.
No, Naz's daughter.
Gotta.
I gotta look that up and start a petition online. # bring back Naz's daughter. I just gotta do it.
Fair enough. Well, you can have Naz's daughter.
What great predictions.
that.
We're all just talking about people getting together.
There's nothing wrong. It's
Hey.
Valentine's Day, Amanda. Okay, we're all excited.
Jesus. Get in
Love is in the air.
That's
It
true.
is. It is
Sorry.
in the air.
Happy Valentine's Day.
But hopefully,
I got a card today.
hopefully, love is not in the air for Rebecca and the development guy, because I'm not a fan of
Quentin?
that.
Quentin.
Quentin,
Yeah.
yes.
It's not gonna happen.
I like. He's a smart guy, but they're not a good match.
No.
Thumbs down.
No.
But we'll have to wait and see. Anything else from you guys?
Well,
this
Amanda
week?
got a Valentine's card. I want to hear
Ooh.
about that.
I did get a Valentine's
Nice.
card.
Stay tuned for that.
Stay
Ooh.
tuned.
Do you want to foreshadow? Do
No,
you
I
wanna
got one
leave a
for
cliffhanger?
somebody. I'll let you know
Okay.
next week if I get one from somebody.
Ooh, okay, okay. Well, we will wait anxiously
I'm
until that
sure
happens.
you will.
You are.
Feel free to tweet at Amanda to see how the story ends right after Valentine's Day. Then get the news a day early, right?
That's right.
Nice.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Please don't do
Thanks,
that. I'm
JB.
sorry. I was putting you on blast. Where can they find you,
You
though?
guys can find me at AmandaFTA31. Thank you. That's
Frank?
it.
Yes, of course. And I'm Frank Maiorana. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Frank M.
Let's go.
Awesome. Well, you guys can find me, JB Zimmerman, at Hey John Blake. Thanks, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.